there, Meghan Mackintosh here. Welcome to this video. I'm your creative sales expert and brand strategy coach, and in this video I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to make a rockin' sales presentation in front of a huge group of people. Now, have you ever wondered why some sales presentations you go to and they're really boring and you think, okay, did this person prepare? They're making me fall asleep. And then there's other presentations where you just think literally 5 minutes through, without them even being finished, I'm buying this, I want this, this is something that's for me. Well, the difference, I believe, between a presentation that knocks it out of the ballpark and one that really fails and doesn't succeed has to do on 3 key elements. Now, before I tell you what those elements are, I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I lived in New York, I was selling technology, software as a service, and one of my clients, well actually before it became a client, I had to do this big sales presentation. And I didn't really research for some reason beforehand how many people were going. I researched information about what their needs were, but I don't know why I didn't ask. Usually I do. I didn't find out how many people were going to show up. So I get there, I have my business cards, about 10, and more people just kept on coming in the room. I think I had about 80 people show up. And as you can imagine, I wasn't prepared for that many people, but because I've done a lot of sales presentations, I was prepared to wow them. Didn't matter how many people were in the room. And this is what I usually use. I tend to like to ask a lot of questions at the beginning. I don't go into my spiel right away. I don't just say, hey, this is what I'm selling and buy it please. I usually ask a lot of needs-based questions in the beginning to find out exactly what their pain points are and to find out the stakeholders that are in the meeting and to find out exactly what they want for their workflow and how they were working in terms of project management, because that's what I was selling. So I literally spent 10 minutes finding out about the people in the room and what their desires are for the technology that I was selling. Another trick that I use is to start with a story about myself. So instead of just going in there and presenting and even asking questions, I want them to feel that know, like, and trust factor. Because even though there was one person in the room that I had built a relationship with, nobody else there really knew who I was. So it was important for me to get them knowing, liking me, and trusting me in the beginning. So oftentimes I would tell a story of how I got to where I was and what I knew about them, or perhaps my story. And because I was living in New York City, I was Canadian, I sort of used that as my advantage, and I might preface the presentation by talking about my accent, or if someone mentioned my accent, I would tell a story about how I got to New York. So they felt like, oh, she's not just some girl trying to sell me something. She has a story. She has a background. I can understand her a little bit more as being human rather than just being someone that's trying to sell me something. So that's another tip, using your personal story when you're presenting to people and getting them to understand you a little bit better as someone who is like them and not just trying to sell them something. And the third thing is humor. I think humor is one of those skills that can be practiced, and it's just about being comfortable in who you are, and everyone, I think, has some sort of humor inside them. So it doesn't mean that you're telling jokes the whole time, but it just is being more relaxed when you're presenting and not being so stiff. So when you're presenting, just to talk about regular things during the presentation. So even though I was talking about the presentation, I remember there was some technical glitches happening, as they do normally at any presentation. Something goes wrong. So instead of getting worried or uptight or, oh, I'm sorry about all these, I would sort of play it off and just use my own humor to relax the situation. And that really goes over well because they realize that you're not nervous, you're not tight, you just want to be just like them. And a lot of people like to buy from people that are similar to them, or people that they know, like, and trust. And that's how you can amp up those factors. So let me just reiterate what those are. The number one thing is you want to ask questions right at the beginning instead of just going full swing into your presentation. The second thing is you want to tell a story about yourself so that they really get to know you before you present to them, just so that they have a really good feel of what you're all about. And the third thing is to use humor. And I have one more thing that I wanted to share that I actually had written down. And that is at the end of each presentation, if it was a half an hour presentation, I would wrap it all up by saying, and if you leave here without remembering much of what I said, please remember these 3 things. Or I would say a sentence similar to that where I would actually, at the end of the presentation, cue them in their mind the things that they have to remember about my presentation. So usually those were benefits to them of what I was selling. So thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to check the link below this video for more tips and tricks on sales and marketing strategies to help you as an entrepreneur boost your business to that next level. Thanks again for watching. I'm Meghan Mackintosh, and I'll see you on the next video.